All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Police are investigating after another building in Montreal's Jewish community was struck by gunfire. Montreal police saying they received a 911 call Wednesday afternoon and responded to the Bell School on Hillsdale Road near Van Horn Avenue in Côte-des-Neiges. Police spokesperson Véronique Dubuc saying officers found at least one bullet on the front of the building, and I've heard that there are two bullet impacts found there. So let's now go to Henry Topas, the Quebec Regional Director for B'nai Brith. Henry, welcome back to the program.
How are you, Elias?
Well, listen, I'll tell you this. Hillsdale Road on Van Horn, near Van Horn, I grew up half a block away, okay? I grew up on the corner of Van Horn and Dubois, okay? I grew up in an apartment building there. This is so close to where I grew up, and to hear that shots were fired at a Jewish school, it really does break my heart. It sinks me a bit here, but we've seen lots of these stories in the last many months here. So what's your reaction to this latest?
Well, first of all, I want to share with you that the first weekend I was in Canada as a McGill student in 1968, that was the synagogue I chose to go to that first Sabbath, that first Shabbat morning. So it brings me back quite a ways. And to answer your question more succinctly, we are disgusted by the fact that the continuous parade of one anti-Semitic event following another without major intervention. We're very thankful that the police have found one of the suspects of the shooting on the school that is a couple blocks away at the Yeshiva Gadola, but there have been endless incidents, starting with the firebombing of my synagogue in Dollar des Ormeaux on November 7th. The school on St. Kevin was shot at. I don't believe that individual or suspect has been found. This one that has taken place now, the one in Toronto, the endless encampments, the fact that they hang Benjamin Netanyahu in effigy from the Roddick gates, and there is no political will to rein this in is just sickening.
So Henry, on that front, right, I've heard Fadi Daguerre, he's been making the media rounds this week, talking about this issue. And as I listen to him, whether it's on CJAD or CTV or other outlets that I've heard him on, right, it seems like he's trying to make the case that the patience here is necessary, that they're working on it, that they're picking their spots. And I sense the frustration that you want action now. I don't know if you've had discussions with the police chief where he's tried to give you some more insight here. But how do you weigh that? Because it seems like the police are saying, listen, we are working on this, but we're trying to pick the right moments because this is a tricky situation. What do you say?
What I say is that Fadi Daguerre and his team are Class A. They're number one people. They run a fine shop. They are very attentive. My personal belief, and the belief of B'nai Brith Canada, is that police forces across this country at various levels are handcuffed by the politicians. We believe that there is no political will to fight this that is necessary. If the political will were there, we know that in no time the problem would be resolved. We were happy, as I mentioned earlier, that there has at least been one suspect picked up. We are saddened that at the level of Adil Sharkawi, who basically made all kinds of statements which he now claims is prayer, but I don't believe it's been enshrined in any particular prayer book. But he calls it prayer, to pray for the death of Zionists. We know exactly what that means. We know when somebody says, from river to sea, Palestine will be free. We know what that means. We know what intifada revolution means. We also know what go back to Poland means. Most of my father's family died in the gas chambers of Treblinka. So we understand what that means. And we are sickened that this is allowed to go on. We connect the dots from demonstrations downtown with boom boxes that annoy the neighbors, that annoy the businesses, from the on-campus continuous harassment of students and you can say that, oh, there's no harassment. We know that that's not the case. I believe that if the police were permitted by the politicians to do their job, there would be a dramatic reduction in what is going on now and felt by the Jewish community as constant, repeated, ongoing, and increasing anti-Semitism.
So, Henry,
we know what it is.
We're with Henry Topas from B'nai Brith. Henry, I know your organization does not like to get political, yet here you are saying this is a lack of political will. Can you point to the level we're talking about here? I mean, the federal government, boy, have I seen the criticism of how Justin Trudeau and Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly and other ministers and other members of the Liberal Party have handled it. I've seen that criticism. Here in Quebec, I know the Premier had to hear it when he told the police, hey, do your job on McGill. He got pushback, right? And then I know there have been the criticism of the Montreal mayor and the Montreal administration. Where are you directing your criticism here when you talk about political will?
Well, I want to be very careful. We do not at any point speak about political parties. We can only speak about the people in power and what they are doing. So when the government announces that they are going to allow 5,000 more Gazans to come to the country, we don't know exactly what that means. We have suspicions what that means, but we don't know what will be the end product of that situation. We do know that the city of Montreal has a woman named Boshra Manai that every Jewish organization, including ours, have asked for her termination. We do know that there are statements that are made that seem to be playing both sides of the fence at all levels, perhaps with the exception of the provincial level, because we respect the statements made by Francois Legault. He has been on point on every one of his statements, and we thank him for it. But when the government one day yells and screams that genocide is being performed, so to speak, in Gaza, and then they have to back off 2 days later when the facts come out. When they say a hospital has been bombed by Israel, and they have to back it off when the facts come out. It is very clear that, sometimes the press and very often the politicians will jump on whatever narrative Hamas puts out and run with it. And they'll run with it until they see the facts. And then it takes them a long time to backtrack once the facts come out.
Well, I've certainly seen that with the Foreign Affairs Minister, Melanie Joly. She did it with the hospital, right? And then this week she did it with the situation in Rafah. And lo and behold, this morning, we keep finding out more from independent journal. I know you knocked the press there a bit, but it was journalists that are reporting about what actually happened in Rafah as well this morning, along with what we've heard from the IDF. Yet we don't hear any retraction or clarification from the federal government. How disappointing is that?
It's extremely disappointing. Even if you look at the case of the rape of the women on October 7th, the rape of the women on October 7th, and the videos that have come out about them being taken as sex slaves, and that not being refuted wholeheartedly by various levels of government is beyond us.
Do you see the connection there? If you have politicians that don't want to talk openly and honestly, and then the situation that happens in the streets, shots fired and that kind of thing, you make a direct link between that?
We make a direct link. We connect the dots. We believe that if there was willpower, let me put it to you this another way. If it were any other minority that was targeted, there would be political will immediately.
Henry, we're going to leave it there. I want to thank you so much for coming on. I feel the passion in your voice, and we appreciate passion on this program. Thanks so much. Henry Topas is Quebec Regional Director for B'nai Brith.